So the people that are with me 100% are the people. I have to do what's right. Yeah. And what's right is this. We have a problem. It's a serious problem. It's got to be solved. And people that are Muslim, that are friends of mine, are so happy that I brought it up. But we can't allow radical killers into this country. We can't do it. We have enough problems. We have $21 trillion. We have jobs that are being stolen from us by China, by Japan, by everybody. We cannot continue to allow this to happen to our country. We're not going to have a country soon. We have people pouring across the borders that we have no idea who they are.
Are you racist?
I am the least racist person that you have ever met. I am the least racist person.
Are you bigoted in any way?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Islamophobic?
I'm a person, no, not at all. I'm a person who happens to be very smart, and I happen to have a certain street sense, and I know where things are going. I said, take out Osama bin Laden. In a book written in the year 2000 called The America We Deserve, I said, you better be careful, because I saw this guy, Osama bin Laden, probably on television. I said, take him out. He knocked down the World Trade Center. What I'm doing now is far more important. And I'm talking about for the Muslims. Mm-hmm. I'm doing good for the Muslims. What I'm doing now is far more important than any particular business I have in the Middle East. I'm doing a big favor. I was just called by one of the most important people of the Middle East and just said to me, Donald, you have done a tremendous service to the Muslims. Because we're making, nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody wants to be so politically correct. Oh, let everybody come in. We have a problem, and the problem has to be solved. Yeah. And when that problem is solved, it's going to be a much happier world.
Foreign leaders? What about foreign leaders who are Muslim, from Muslim countries?
You don't have
Diplomats.
a lot of foreign leaders that want to bring up the subject, and that's why I'm getting so much credit.
I want to talk about the funny, but let's stick to this, because what I mean is, what about foreign diplomats or people from Muslim countries who are coming into the country? Who
certainly
must do
exceptions can
country.
be made. I mean, we're not going to say you can't come into the country. And the one thing people didn't pick up, at the end of that sentence, it said, until we get our hands around it, essentially, until we find out what the hell is going on, which is the expression I used. Now, I could go quickly, but you know what? It's a subject that has to be discussed.
So you said there will be exceptions, even for like international athletes and competitions?
Of course there will be exceptions. You can't
okay.
keep people out like that, but
okay.
There will certainly be exceptions made.
So you have been saying that until we figure out what's going on. What exactly does that mean? Figure out what? What is there to figure out?
Why is there such hatred and such viciousness? Why is somebody willing to fly airplanes into the World Trade Center and go after it even prior to that? They failed, although they did tremendous damage by any normal standard. And then after they failed, they went and they actually took airplanes into the World Trade Center. Where does this hatred come from? Why does it come? We have to figure it out, because we have problems. So when you surveil the mosques, I took a lot of heat for the surveillance of the mosques. Well, now other people are saying, well, we have to surveil the mosques. I took heat for, we have to study things. Nobody's taking the heat like me. I don't care. I don't care, because what I'm saying is right. And you know what? You know it's right, and everybody knows it's right. And you know who really knows it right? It is the public. The public knows it's right. We have to find out, Don, where does this hatred come from? But it seems to be one group. I mean, the people that flew the planes into the World Trade and many other things, not only in this country, but in many other countries. You look at what's going on all over the world. We have a problem. We have people that would rather fly an airplane into a building than live out their life. Yeah. We have to find out why.
So you mentioned...
We can't have it anymore. We have people that want to destroy our cities. Mm-hmm. They don't want to do one building, they want to do all the buildings. We have to find out why. We can't be politically correct, stupid people. At the end of the speech, I actually tweeted out, @Real Donald Trump, I want to be unpredictable. I don't want the enemy to know. I have been saying hit the oil for 3 years, including on your program, if you look back. They said no, no, no. Now everybody agrees with me, hit the oil.
This is CNN Breaking News.
The unholy alliance between the left and the forces and the Muslim supremacists, considering that the premises and the principles of both of them are mutually incompatible.
Okay, so they're not mutually incompatible to point A, they are to point B. What I mean is that it's a timeline. The left wants to tear down Western civilization because it thinks it's unequal. The radical Muslims want to tear down Western civilization because they think it's evil. So to the point of tearing down Western civilization, they're pretty much on the same page. It's where they go from there that's a problem, right? One side wants to build a caliphate and the other side wants to build a communist utopia. The reason that the left is routinely, and it's almost invariable, that the left ends up siding with the world's worst human beings in every situation is because, again, if you just go back to that fundamental leftist principle, that equality of outcome is all that matters in life, that equality of outcome means that something just is happening, think about it. The real world is a place where God designed it this way. I believe this. God designed it not for every individual, but certainly for the vast bulk of humanity. If you do responsible, good things with your life, you will be more successful than if you do irresponsible, bad things with your life. Well, if the left believes that people who are unsuccessful are more virtuous, then what that means is that the non-virtuous are more virtuous, right? Because the people who are unsuccessful are generally not doing good, responsible things, and the left says, well, those people are victims, let's help them, right? So the Muslims in the Middle East are victims of Israel. They must be victims of Israel because Israel's rich, and its neighbors are not, so they must be victims. Well, the real reason that the Muslims, the Palestinian Muslims, for example, are poor is because they've spent all the money that has been given to them, hundreds of billions of dollars, all the money that's been given to them over the course of decades, and they've spent it on terrorism, and they've spent it on stocking it away in their bank accounts of Yasser Arafat and Mahmoud Abbas, and they've spent it on garbage, and they spent it on anti-Israel propaganda. That's the real reason they're poor, but the left looks at it and they say, they're poor, that means they're virtuous. This is why I hate it, really despise it, when Republicans do the whole, I'm a better person because I have a rags to riches story. You weren't a better person when you're poor. Okay, no one is a better person just because they're poor. By the way, no one's a better person because they're rich. All that wealth is a measure of how many voluntary exchanges you engaged in a free market. That's all that wealth is. But the idea for the left is that all inequality is evil. Therefore, the people who are unequal at the top are evil and the people at the bottom are virtuous. Which is why you'll hear people on the left say things like they like small business, but they hate people who are big business, like the Walmart family, right? The Walton family. They're terrible. Well, were they terrible when they were just a family living in the middle of nowhere? When exactly did they transition over into evil? Right? When they became successful enough, because their success meant, by necessity, according to the leftist worldview, they were depriving others of their fair share. And Bernie Sanders said this right after winning New Hampshire the other night. And this is Bernie Sanders' entire thing. He says the principle of America is the principle of fairness, which makes me want to vomit and never stop vomiting. The principle of America is not fairness of outcome. And he was talking about fairness of outcome. He said, oh, how it's unfair that 1% of the population lives with more wealth than 90% of the rest of the population. And well, maybe, or maybe it's not unfair, because it turns out that 1% of the population is hiring the other 90% of the population to actually provide their services and labor.